Hello, class. I'm back in my rocking chair, ready to review our rules of thumb reading on introductions in the 8th edition, right? It's page 75 to 76. And essentially, I feel as though the guidelines this book presents are extremely helpful. And I wanted to review how those guidelines work with my suggestions and guidelines for your intro paragraph. And lastly, we'll take a look at what the Purdue Online Writing Lab has to say about it to get a different perspective. So ideally, when we're talking about the intro paragraph, you want to make sure that you're providing that background information on your subject, presenting the thesis statement, and listing out, or I like to call it the essay map, right, of the supporting evidence. So as the reading from rules of thumb says, indicate the parts of your essay. And essentially, that's just another way of listing out the support. What facts, what examples, what details. You might bring in the sources that you're going to focus on. Remember, if you're doing a rhetorical analysis response academic argument, from the lens of rhetorical analysis, right? Just as we focused on that same lens for essay 1, you can do that for this one as well. And you can bring in the rhetorical strategies that your essay is going to analyze, evaluate, and synthesize with your own ideas as you're structuring your paper. Some other sections of advice on the reading introductions. Maybe you start with the other side. You begin with the counter argument and you open the essay from a Rogerian standpoint. You present the counter argument, you state the concession, and then you provide your own counter and reasoning to support that. Another suggestion from rules of thumb: tell a brief story, otherwise known as an anecdote, in which you invoke your own ethos or the ethos of someone else, right? Anecdote is a true story, a shorter, amusing, or interesting story about a real incident or person, something that either happened to you or something that you read about or observed about. You might start with a news lead or a quote from one of your sources, is another suggestion from rules of thumb. You might start general to specific. General would be your subject and topic would be more specific. So what aspect of identity in general you're going to focus on, and then specifically what are the causes and effects of that stereotyping that your essay is going to examine, right, to prove your claim. Right? And again, that's related to which specific prompt you chose, and you had many prompts to choose from. So I hope this is helpful for a review, if you would, of our rules of thumb, a review of the document that comes right before the discussion submission for your intro paragraph. Lastly, Purdue Online Writing Lab, right? Common writing assignments, argument papers, intros, bodies, conclusions, right? Focusing on purpose and audience, right? First up, the intro. What should it do? It's a broad beginning of the paper that answers, what is this? Why am I reading it? What do you want me to do? Remember, I mentioned those 6 questions as you're generating ideas. 3 of them, Purdue OWL mentions. You should answer these questions by doing the following: set the context, background information, and support, explaining the situation. State why the main idea is important, right? Again, what is specifically the focus of your stereotyping, right? Or the stereotypes you're going to examine. How do they relate to identity, right? And how are you going to create a compelling, clear, and convincing essay that people will want to read? I think this is a very interesting topic because we all have in various aspects of our identity. We're all aware of the stereotypes that exist in society. Unfortunately, more now than ever, right? And then state your thesis claim, compose a sentence or two stating the position you will support with logos, pathos, ethos, right? Again, and you could kind of continue scrolling down this page if you need more examples between our readings and everything's an argument with readings from earlier in the semester, sharing ideas on how to structure our intros, rules of thumb. Right now, what we can do is continue bringing in secondary sources from the Purdue OWL and other reputable websites to help us structure our arguments and our paragraphs. So you have sample, background, sentences. You've got your thesis checklist, right? It's not an announcement. It's not a title. It's not a statement of a fact. It's not the whole essay, right? The thesis is a statement that formulates both your topic and your point of view, right? An enthymeme, like Aristotle said, and we read about earlier in the semester on page 65 in Everything's an Argument with Readings, as we were learning about how to structure our arguments. So again, I hope you find this helpful, right? Make sure your thesis is unified, make sure it's specific, and then we have a checklist down here. So ideally, when we submit our essays into the discussion, this is the checklist that I will be asking you to reply to when you post your responses of thoughtful and respectful feedback on at least 2 introductions. So I hope this video was helpful. Thank you for watching and listening. Let me know if you have any questions, and until next time.